Miami Hurricanes are still playing the waiting game on safety A.J. Haulcy. How much longer do you have to wait before concern sets in?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On this loaded episode, we'll talk with, we got multiple guests on today, by the way. We'll talk with our guy, Phil Russomanno, about Miami Hurricanes drafted last week to the NFL, the biggest surprises, including why Xavier Restrepo fell out of the draft. But with our first special guest, really co-host of the day today, we're going to talk about a big visit happening today with linebacker Mohamed Toure. We're going to talk about Miami playing the waiting game for A.J. Haulcy. And how about this?
Yep.
A bonus appearance this week from the Truth Teller. It's a Truth Teller Thursday here on Locked On
Yes,
Canes.
it is.
So Bruce Warner.
I got time today. I have a hearing at 1:30, and then
Ooh.
Alex said, "Can I come on at 10:30?" Sure, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, our Miami Hurricanes hosted Tuesday. He arrived Monday night, full day Tuesday into Wednesday morning. And Tuesday night, he had the Prime 112 dinner, and Rick Ross showed up.
You're right.
First team all Big 12 safety, A.J. Haulcy out of Houston. 5 interceptions last year. Good hitter. Just an excellent football player, A.J. Haulcy. But he leaves Miami, Bruce, without offering a commitment. And we got LSU waiting in the wings. Now, as of right this moment, there is no visit scheduled to LSU. The LSU people are trying to make that happen. But, as time ticks by, Bruce, and we haven't had a Haulcy commitment, has the concern started to set in for you?
Absolutely. Because we seemingly get these guys, they show up and they commit, and they're all excited. Anytime somebody leaves, of course you get nervous. I get nervous. I'm still nervous about Cantwell, but my gut tells me he's not coming here. That's what my gut tells me, because when they leave and they're not signed or whatever, they're not agreeing to commit here, then I don't know what's going to. It just seems like lately, despite how great Mario is at closing these deals, when these guys leave and they go someplace else, something seems to happen. So this Haulcy kid, now, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to. If you want to cut this part out, you can cut it out. You told me he was looking for apartments in the Gables. Now, if that's what really happened, then why is he leaving? He didn't like what he saw down there. I mean, how could you not like living in the Gables? But maybe he didn't want to go. I don't know.
I mean, I hear the accommodations are more affordable in Baton Rouge, so I don't know. Maybe you can save a few bucks.
You can live in any dump in Baton Rouge. There's no dumps.
You live in a mansion in Baton Rouge for the price of a 2-bedroom here.
But you know what? We need this guy. This is the kind of guy you need to be able to say, now we're ready to go in the secondary, in the safety position, and at the corners. This is an experienced guy who's very, very good. So I don't know how he got out of the city without having an agreement with Mario and the staff. But that's what you asked me if I'm worried. Of course I'm worried. You are too, I'll bet.
Yeah, sure. And listen, it's not when a guy leaves and takes a little bit of time to make a decision. I just want to say it's not always a kiss of death. All right. Like the last couple players Miami landed, Chamar Brown, Marty Brown, the running back. He had visited Miami several days ago, and then it looked like he was trending to Cal or Nebraska. Ended up many days after his visit committed to Miami. Tony Johnson, the slot receiver from a couple of days ago, same thing, was like 4 or 5 days removed from his Miami visit, still ended up picking the Canes. Now, A.J. Hall, and no disrespect to either of those players, but A.J. Haulcy is like one of the most sought-after guys in the portal.
Doesn't he have a connection to Etheridge?
He does. Yeah, he played for Zach Etheridge at Houston.
Okay, so I'm just thinking out. I mean, my God, how do you not? I know this guy. Miami's on the rise. They need me badly. They're loaded. They have Carson, Beck.
Yeah,
I don't know. LSU. Look, I don't like their coach. I never did. I never will. So They get talent, they recruit, but despite him, they recruit and they do well.
Yeah.
Now we have to just wait. But anyway, he's not the only guy. So there's 2 or 8 guys coming today from Rutgers. He had an injury, last year, and then in 2022. He had a great year in 2023. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's even going to commit here or not, but I think we need another linebacker.
Yeah, and I like the skill set for Mohamed Toure, and you characterize it correctly. There had been injury concerns with him. He had a season-ending injury, missed the entire 2024 season. Same thing 2 years prior, 2022. Had a great 2023, and that was playing for Corey Heatherman, was his linebackers coach at Rutgers. There's another one, connections to the coaching staff. But Toure, he's a jack linebacker, so who hybrid defensive end linebacker. This guy could be a difference maker on Miami's defense if they can land him. This is one. And again, these trends can change, Bruce, because a couple days ago, it looked like it was Penn State all the way for Mohamed Toure. And now Miami is getting the opportunity here. So, the transfer portal is crazy and it's unpredictable. But yeah, I mean, Miami already has landed a linebacker in Kamal Bonner. Toure seems to be a different skill set, and the two of them can both fit in together and complement one another and raise the bar for Miami's linebacker room. So yeah, I would love to get news on.
But Heatherman wants to play a 4-2-5. So they just need 2 of those 4 guys. Obviously, Basaint is definitely going to start, and I would think the North Carolina transfer will probably start. But if this guy's healthy, now I don't know how you do this when you come down, you have a visit for a day. Unless they've got all his prior medical records, you got to have this guy examined. He's got to go see those doctors.
Yeah. I would think so.
I don't even know if they'll have an answer today, whether or not they're going to offer him. It depends on his health.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, they don't even have any game film from him from last year, only the year before last.
Yeah. The year before last, but at least the game film that they have of him is working for Corey Heatherman's unit, so they get that extra insight on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, who else are we waiting for? Who else are we waiting for, Alex? There's other. We still didn't get a D tackle. We have all these names keep getting thrown out. We haven't gotten one yet.
Well,
we were getting Robinson from Florida. That didn't happen. He went to
North Carolina. He wanted to play for Belichick and the girlfriend.
The girlfriend, right?
So he went to go. Who I think is actually the one running the team.
She wears. You see how skimpy those outfits are.
I mean, is that how she hypnotized Bill into giving her full control of football operations?
All
like she put on a bikini.
When he was with the Giants as defensive coordinator, when he was with Cleveland as the head coach, when he was with New England, even when they won Super Bowls, I don't think I've ever seen him smile as much as I see him now. He's always smiling. I mean, why not? What is she, 24?
24.
Oof. Wow.
Bill is living his best life right now. I'll say that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of controversy about what's going on up there with him.
Oh, it's. I mean, she is. I mean, and again, I don't know. The media might be painting it into an unfair light, but it's become a TMZ topic about how she's like controlling everything and pulling the strings and all this stuff. So it's wild. So yeah, so they're the ones who got DeAndre Robinson. The other defensive tackle that we had came in for a visit out of Boise State. He decided to stay there, Braxton Feely.
Yeah, I don't think they really wanted after they measured him and saw him. I don't think he's that much of a difference maker. They don't want fodder. They want someone who could play, and I guess he's not that good. I don't care about him. I was hoping that Robinson. Every time a Florida Gator decommits, everybody thinks they're coming to Miami, but it has a few have come, but not all of them.
Right. So, well, I want to talk when we come back about the players who are on the roster now who have the most pressure to perform in the upcoming 2025 season, because Miami has expectations, guys. I mean, expectation, ACC championship game, win the ACC, get into that college football playoff. You want to keep it locked right here. We got the truth teller with us, and we're only getting started on this brand new Locked On Canes. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Yeah. Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty. It's as easy as you stream your favorite shows. Guys, you already have a console? It's fine. The Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Do you ever find yourself flipping between apps to find one place that just works? With Fire TV Stick 4K, everything's in one place, from Netflix to YouTube and beyond. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Thank you for making this Truth Teller Thursday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today.
So you got guys that keep wanting me to be on all the time. Then you have guys don't want me on at all. Then you have guys that want me to have my own show. And listen, I could do whatever. I used to have my own radio show for years. You know that. And,
yeah, of course.
And so, but reading those spots like you do, I couldn't do it like that. You're great at that. I mean, that's why I even respond to these people. I said, look, I enjoy doing it with Alex. He does all the dirty work. He does all the hard labor. He's on top of all this stuff. And the only thing I bring to the table is we talk before the show sometimes about the topics, but not necessarily what we're going to talk about, which makes it fun because we get along really well. And I enjoy this. Why would I want to do it on my own? You know, I appreciate that, but no, I'm not doing it on my own. If I don't do it with Alex, I'm not doing it at all. I said that.
Yeah, and one of those things you mentioned, we talk about topics beforehand, but I usually I tell you don't tell me what you're going to say on the show because I don't want it to be spoiled, right? So something I wanted to get into with you was you look at players this upcoming season. Mm-hmm. Who do you think has the most pressure if Miami's going to live up to that expectation of being in that 12-team college football playoff? Who has to step up?
I'll give you a couple of names, and you can agree, disagree, in no particular order. Obviously, Carson Beck. Obviously. He's here. He's not Cam Ward. He doesn't want to be Cam Ward. He wants to be Carson Beck, last year's preseason Heisman finalist, supposedly. So he's got a lot of pressure on him. I don't think there's any question that JoJo Trader has a lot of pressure. He went from coming from a bench warmer with some injuries to now supposedly our number one wide receiver. That's a hell of a jump for someone that has how many catches? A handful. So that's a lot of pressure on him because you got Ray, you got the other guys. Malachi had a good spring, but JoJo's the one with the X on his back because he's now going to be supposedly our go-to guy. So he's got pressure. I think Bain has a lot of pressure because of what happened last year. From 2 years ago to last year, night and day. He lost weight. He seems he's in great shape, but he has a lot of pressure on him.
And another thing about Bain, let me just add this. I'm already seeing him turn up on the way too early mock drafts in the first round for next year.
Really?
So he's got an expectation to bounce back, and this will be his third year. So if he has a great year, he could go. I hope he stays for 4 years, but he could go into the draft next year if he has a great year.
Yeah. But again, I think he's undersized. I don't know about the first round. You know, sometimes a college superstar doesn't translate that well. Arroyo translates to the tight end because he's big, he could run. On the flip side, Elijah Lofton has a lot of pressure on him this year because he's now stepping in as a guy who had some spot duty. He's the man because we lost not only Arroyo, we lost Williams, the other tight end. So there's not much. They have some experience that they brought in some guys, but not with his ability. He's got ability in the backfield, out of the backfield, tight end, slot, H-back. He could be spread out. He's a dangerous guy, so he has to come forward and have a good year. I don't know about the defense. I think the defense, for the most part, it's a unified group. I can't single out one individual that has to really, really step up. I mean, obviously, you get Haulcy in here, yeah, but I think as a unit, the defense is going to play much better. Maybe you could say Besaith, because he's always had this talent expectation, and he has not really dominated. He's had moments. Moments doesn't mean he's an All-American, a high draft pick. So maybe he's got some pressure, but obviously Bain, I think, has it as well.
Yeah, and let's think special teams here. The new kicker, Bert Auburn, out of Texas, and he ended his season last year. He had the yips, as we say at the end of the year, Bruce. Missed some big kicks at the end of the season. And, for the last 5 years, we've had some of the best kicking in the country with Jose Borregales, Andy Borregales. I mean, how many times did Andy Borregales bail Miami out with big kicks the last couple of years? So Bert Auburn, come on down. We need some clutch moments there. And also the new return man, Keelan Marion.
Right.
He comes in with, rightfully so, he returned 2 kickoffs to the house last year. He comes in with a lot of hype as a special teams returner. We got to see him return at least 1 to the house this year.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put pressure on and say he's under a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, because we've done 0 for so many years that if he gains 8 yards on a punt return, oh my goodness, this guy's the next Devin Hester. So,
Yeah.
expectations is part of the word pressure, I think.
Yeah, it's true.
And are we sitting here hoping that this guy's really good? Hell yeah. Yeah, we're jacked for this guy. But pressure, I don't know. We haven't done anything in so long,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I know you don't want to talk about if somebody gets hurt. We can't afford to lose anybody, so we won't do that. I know
I'm
want
too
to talk about that.
superstitious. Like we were talking about that before the show. Like who can we not afford to lose to injury? And I'm like, I want to stay away from that one, because I feel like I could become like the harbinger of doom if I.
Well, that could be, but you can be the harbinger of doom. But you know what? we all know who cannot get hurt, and that's
yeah.
Beck. He can't get hurt, or else all bets are off.
Why'd you have to put a name onto that?
I didn't say his first name.
Oh, okay, then it doesn't count. You know how superstitious I am.
Could be
like,
Michael Beck. Is it?
Okay.
He was an actor named Beck, I think. Whatever. Okay, no more of that. No more of that.
We can't do that anymore. So how do you feel, by the way? We were talking about the transfer portal names that Miami's waiting on. We're all playing the waiting game with AJ Haulcy. Is he going to commit to Miami? Is he going to visit LSU? How do you feel about the guys that they brought in so far? Like we mentioned, Kamal Bonner, the linebacker from NC State, Keelan Marion, the receiver, kick returner, Bert Auburn, the kicker, Tony Johnson, the slot receiver, and Marty Brown, Shamar Brown, the running back yesterday. How you feel about these 5?
Well, we kind of talk about this off the air a lot, you and me. So, out of, I think, 4 out of those 5, other than the kicker, when we talked about it, we both said the same thing. I want him. I want him. I want him. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with Shamar Brown. My goodness, he looks really good.
It's physical.
Yeah, physical. I like him. I like Johnson. The only thing that we keep talking about is how many more slot guys are we going to get? We can't find one guy at blazing speed that you just say, get down the field and you drag a safety with him and you throw underneath. I still don't see that.
Hopefully
maybe
Keelan Marion can do
guy.
that as well. CJ Daniels, who we brought in winter, and hopefully Keelan Marion, because I could see him being more of an outside guy.
Right, he could be, but then you've got Malachi, who now apparently, if you're asking me, he may play. I don't know if he's going to play as often as people thought 2 weeks ago when we had the spring game. Now that we have these other guys coming in, I think they're probably really hoping to shirt this kid, but they might not be able to. It just depends. And of course, you've got Ray, who I would assume now is not going to have any return duties. No kickoff, no punt returns. Let him focus on being in that slot and making plays. That's why we're hoping that Marion could be both a punt and a kickoff returner and do a decent job and put us in good field position.
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
what do you think? What do you think? I can ask you questions. I'm the lawyer. What do you think of those guys?
Oh, please. I think I think I like adding both Marion for the obvious reasons with his kickoff specialist duties. And then Tony Johnson, I think, is an underrated pickup because of his experience.
Right.
So I know, again, like people, more slot receivers and stuff, but they want to add more experience because this is something that Brian Smith of the Portal Podcast pointed out to me. I mean, Bruce, you think about who does Miami open up the season against? Notre Dame, who's got one of the best defenses, especially one of the best defensive secondaries in the country. You want to have as many experienced receivers as possible for that opening game. That's why the Tony Johnson move was big. Kamal Bonner, I think, was a really good pickup at linebacker. He's young. He's got to work on his coverage a little bit, but he's a really sound tackler, and hopefully the coverage comes along. So I think Miami's done really well so far, and if they can finish out by getting Haulcy or Torre or both, This is going to end up being, a transfer portal class to remember.
And possibly a starting caliber D tackle. So what did you say about Notre Dame's defense? The secondary is great, or the whole defense is great?
The whole defense, but the secondary is great. I mean, they held Penn State in that semifinal game. Penn State had 0 receptions by wide receivers in that college football playoff game. You remember that? Like their receivers could not get open against Notre Dame.
Okay, then how about this? We run it down their throats. How about that? Screens, swing passes, short passes, crossing routes, and run it down their throat and take an occasional shot down the field. So you don't have to worry about, like last year when Ward was throwing 20, 30-yard passes like it was a 2-yard pass. He just was flinging it all over the yard. I don't know if it's going to be like that, but our running game should be incredible this year. I think Lyle is better than he was last year.
Yeah.
Fletcher, he says he lost some weight. He's probably got a little more speed. And then you got Shamar Brown. So, I think our running game, and you said it when we first got back, we're going to probably run the ball more this year. I agree. I think we probably will. That's really our strength, not the passing game.
No. Well,
at least not yet.
Right. Well, huge thank you and shout out to the Truth Teller. We're going to talk a little NFL draft with Phil Russomanno when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I'm certainly not done with Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending and overspending on things like food delivery and streaming services. Now I budget smarter and I save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even long-term goals, all there in one place. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Miami Hurricanes had 7 players drafted last week, which was actually top of the ACC, but I know we want to get that number into double digits next year and beyond. Miami also had the number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward, which was pretty awesome. But, one of the biggest stories was a player who was not drafted. And let's talk about that and so much more as our very good pal, Phil Russomanno, my paisano, joins me here on Locked On Canes, sports reporter. And what are you, a double, triple, quadruple Cane? How many degrees do you have at Miami, Phil?
3 degrees at Miami now.
That's incredible. And I'm a Miami alum, but he's got 3 times as many degrees as I do, which is impressive. And so, okay, were you surprised, Phil, that Xavier Restrepo went undrafted?
I would say overall, yes. I mean, I knew after the 40 time he was going to drop, but the question was how much. But when you get into like that late 5th, early 6th rounds, that's when you're starting to get calls to your agent about priority free agent signings. So I think it kind of worked out in a way that, yes, he didn't get drafted, which he 100% should have, but the team that he went to might have been a better fit than other teams that would have drafted him at like the end of the 7th round.
Do you like, how concerned should people actually be about the 40 time? And do you think he can, whatever lack of speed Restrepo has, can he overcome it and become a great pro?
See, like, this is like the age-old debate about like testing times versus game speed. Like, if you watch Xavier Restrepo in a game, you would never know that he ran a 4.840. Like that would just not be the case at all. I think Pro Football Focus had him at a 99.9 route running grade, which was like the best in the class for any receiver too. So when you're watching him play in a game, he's getting open, he's getting the ball, and he's moving downfield. So for me, like, that GPS time is probably telling a way different story than the 40 time. And now you had a quarterback that was banging the table for you to go to that team. So you can't go wrong with that either way. I think it works itself out in the end.
Were you surprised by any of the other players who a lot of guys got undrafted free agent opportunities, but from like Sam Brown, Jacoby George, Simeon Barrow. Were you surprised by any of the other guys who went undrafted?
Yeah, I would say for Jacoby George and Brown too, because Brown tested really well too. So that was more so of I wasn't so sure why he didn't even get a look at like the 7th round, because that's usually like the traits part of the draft. For Brown too, like he had the production. Like I saw him being like in that like 6th, 7th round, maybe like dropping out an undrafted free agent. Barrow is the one that's really surprising because a lot of like all ACC guys usually get drafted even if it is like the 6th or 7th round. I guess that's just like a size kind of thing, but once you're on the field, you can prove it there. So I think that they have an opportunity to make teams that they're on right now for their like training camp.
So Cam Ward is a Tennessee Titan, first overall pick. And of course, these days you're the top quarterback taken. The expectation is you start your first year and you hopefully hit and impress your first year. What's your ceiling for Cam Ward in Tennessee? And I guess I'll also ask you, what's your floor, right? How do you think he performs this year?
I can see him like on the high end performing like that first Baker Mayfield year when he was drafted first overall. Like, I think that the Titans have a decent amount of talent on their offense. They revamped the entire offensive line. They have a pretty good running game. They have good receivers, like for the most part. When you have Calvin Ridley, who last year caught like almost, I think it was like 1,080 yards with Will Levis and then the other quarterback there. So that's definitely a guy you have there. They brought in a lot of talent in the draft for receiver. And Gunnar Helm, I think, is a really good value at tight end too. But I can see him like throwing for like, like your 32 to like 3,600 yards, maybe like 22 to 25 touchdowns. The real question is going to be interceptions. I think he's going to be on the lower end, surprisingly. I think he's going to be at like maybe like 10 to 11 on the season. But I think the biggest thing that you're going to see from Cam going to that team is the leadership, which we've seen at Miami for this entire season, to the point where they were saying that when players were getting drafted by the Titans, Cam Ward was calling the players before the Titans were off the phone with them just to like introduce himself, get everything ready. So that's a guy that's ready to go. He's already starting with the playbook. I think they're going to be a really close-knit group out there in Nashville, and I think they're going to have a better season than most people think.
What you said about Ward, that's very on brand for him. I mean, he is a leader, and I could hear, that video with Restrepo that came out when he was on the phone with Titans brass that they were going to sign him undrafted, and they mentioned, hey, Cam Ward has been speaking up for you. He's been in our ear about calling you. So Ward, the leadership, I mean, Tennessee, for the Titans fans who may be listening to this, like, you guys are going to find out, like, you are getting a true alpha male when Cam Ward, I mean, he's already there, but when you start watching him play and practice, you're getting a great one in Tennessee. Now you're a New York Jets fan. Somehow you and I still get along despite that. And you came away with a pair of Canes. You come away with Kiko and Tyler Barron, both in the 5th round.
Yeah, I was really happy about that because especially the way that Aaron Glenn runs that system up there in New York, like it's very defensive focused. And last year he had to really overcome a lot as defensive coordinator for the Lions. So a lot of like the focus for that defense is instinct, speed, like testing numbers, all that good stuff. And with Kiko, you really have instincts that are incredible. Like towards like the beginning of last year, he had like the shoulder injuries. So it was like one of those things you had to get back to like being fully healthy. But I think in like the system, like the New York Jets and like the way that D lines are all set up and the corners and everything too are pretty good there. He's going to have an opportunity to really hit the field running. Then for Barron too, like the Jets are like kind of in this process of looking to get like a new defensive end to like rotate in and then replace the one that we currently have. So replacing who we have with Barron is like a great swap for that one, just because of the size, speed. I mean, if he had the games that he had against Florida, like for a couple more games, he'd probably be a 1st round pick. So
Yeah, I think the Seahawks did really well. That was the other team that drafted Canes. And like, in fact, I think that they killed it because, Elijah Arroyo, who was, late 2nd rounder, mid-2nd rounder, if not for, the injury history that he had at Miami, probably would have been a 1st round talent. And then in the 7th round, I thought they got a steal in Damian Martinez, who, he's got a little bit of Marshawn Lynch in his DNA with the way that he runs angry. So I think the Seahawks offense has gotten a lot better with the 2 Canes that they came away with.
Oh, yeah. And especially since Sam Darnold's the quarterback out there, he really targets tight ends a lot. at the time when he was on the Jets, we had a former Cane there too, and Chris Herndon, and he targeted Chris Herndon a lot when he was on the Jets. So I think that like position for Elijah Arroyo could be like one of those like dynasty fantasy kinds of people that you're gonna like draft early, just because of how many targets he's gonna get. And then for Martinez, like that's a great change of pace back to start off, and I think he's gonna do really well there. Also, then I believe in like the like jersey numbers being like a big thing, and I saw Arroyo got number 18, which is a great tight end number, and Martinez got 22, so can't go wrong.
Like it. I like it. So the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, of course, they ended up, last year picking up our guy, Matt Lee, as an undrafted free agent. This year, they draft Jalen Rivers in the 5th round. How do you think Jalen Rivers projects as a pro?
I feel like he's going to be more towards a guard. I feel like
Yeah.
that's how they've been like viewing him throughout the process. But I think what's so important is that when you're on the offensive line at Miami, you're playing a bunch of different positions, like you're cross-trained all around. So for a team like the Bengals, where the offensive line is so important to protect Joe Burrow, having a player that can play multiple positions is really important to have. And Jalen Rivers is good at what he does. So I think that's a great fit for him too.
How do you feel about 7 players drafted? I mean, it's not the destination, Phil, but to me, it seems like progress. I mean, I talked about this last week on Locked On Canes. The year that Mario took over Miami, which obviously were none of his players getting drafted that year. That was from the Manny Diaz era. The year he took over, Miami had 1 guy drafted, Jonathan Ford. And so you fast forward, 3-4 years, now we're talking about 7 guys.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see the progress that's been with Mario Cristobal, like throughout the talent level that's coming onto this team. And it was like really crazy that year too, his first year, because we were all sweating it out because we almost lost the streak because Ford was in the 7th round. So I was like, oh, let's never have this happen again. But I mean, like going forward to next year, like all the early mock drafts are coming out. You're seeing a couple of Canes or maybe even 3 Canes going in the 1st round in Ruben Bain, CC, and then potentially Carson Beck if he has like a kind of resurgence this year. And then just like the way that the talent's been situated, I think our front 7 now has like 5 5-stars, which I can't remember the last time it's been like that. So it's definitely the arrows pointing way up, and being in the ACC too. If you can keep on like stacking that talent, leading the conference, you're going to be able to have that kind of snowball over time. And I think we're almost at that point, which is a good sign to have. Just got to keep on grinding.
Keep on grinding, and the same for all of us. Phil, thank you so much for taking the time. Hopefully Miami's got like 12, 13 guys drafted next year. We'll keep in touch, my friend. Have a great weekend coming up.
For sure. Have a great weekend.
Love it. It's Phil Russomanno. I am Alex Donno. Thanks again to the Truth Teller for joining us again this week. We'll talk to everybody next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.